Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Imperial Scholars Podcast. My name is Mitch, my co-host is Cabs, and in today's episode, we cover a new subplot of sorts of the legendary lands of Nehekara. This will be a well-known character, a character that's lingered on much longer than he should have by almost everyone's standards, and you just can't seem to put him down. Cabs, we are going to be talking about a character you've probably heard the name of, but you probably don't know the lore. This is a man by the name of Nagash, and the effects that he has on the world of Warhammer.
That name does sound very familiar, to be honest, but I'm not sure why it sounds familiar. If that makes sense.
No, I know why it probably sounds familiar. I'll give you a hint. It lingers on into Age of Sigmar is probably why.
Ah, okay.
Yes, exactly. So you probably have heard of him in that regard, but we're going back to the ancient times of Nagash as a standard dude, a standard just guy.
Just a chill guy.
Just a chill guy.
Dude. Just a chill guy. He's just chilling around.
He really don't be. He really be the least chill guy there be. I gotta be honest, brother. All right.
The opposite of the meme.
that meme could not fit a worse individual.
Oh no.
So this man Nagash. So we pointed out last time with Nehekara was being like, yes, in the ancient days of when like the firstborn was given to the gods and the secondborn was chosen as the king to rule over, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Nagash was unfortunately, I guess for him, born as the firstborn child of a royal lineage of Khemri. If you might recall, Khemri was like the capital city of Nehekara. That was where Setra himself ruled. So this is like the big capital city in all of Egypt, basically. And so basically he was given into the mortuary cults, and his brother was chosen to be the king after his father's passing. His brother's a character by the name of Thutep. Thutep. I took some notes here just because there's a handful of characters and the names are a bit too much for me to remember. And honestly, there's a lot of characters. Oh, I should point out. So I have gone ahead and read the omnibus of the Rise of Nagash. Very good. Would recommend. I will say the first book is a bit slow for me. But this isn't book club. I just wanted to point that out that I would recommend these. They're a lot of fun if you want to understand this character. And this will be the abridged Patch Notes version of his story. So in the beginning, Nagash's father was in the midst of fighting a war, and he was just fighting an opposing kingdom. And in the midst of all this craziness of just them fighting each other and giant scorpion constructs and the dirigibles and all this stuff going on, at some point in time, a weird thing occurred on the battlefield where Nagash's father's armies were like engulfed by this weird black mist that was like just emitting out of a coffin. And his father is killed in battle and brought back. And at this point, they go through the standard thing of the mortuary cult, where it's like, we're going to entomb the king and get him prepped for the afterlife. And Thutep will take the crown and be the next king, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And Nagash was basically like at that point, like he is in charge of the mortuary cult. He has taken on the leadership role of the mortuary cult, and he is an avid student. He's a genius. Like, not only by the standards of this cult, he's an actual genius. So he picked up everything pretty much immediately. And so he's given the job of having to basically mummify his father. And with this comes the usual thing of mummification, where it's like they, in ancient times, where they took out the organs and put them in the jars and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they do that here. So Nagash is opening up his father's chest and getting ready to prep him for the afterlife. But then he's looking at it, and there's this weird thing where his dad's intestines and all of the organs are like intermingled into like this mush.
Oh, so how did he die? Like, what? Did he get like squished or something?
So that black mist was like what caused it, right? Like it went over him, and all of a sudden he's like looking at it going like, what the hell happened to you, Dad? Why do your insides look like some kind of spaghetti monster? What the hell is this?
That must be pretty traumatizing too, to like mummify your own father as well.
To the average Joe, yes. Nagash, it's like, this is Wednesday.
Fair enough. Actually,
this is what this guy does. Nothing phases this man. I should point out that rather than that, you would think that would be the situation where he would look at it and go like, "Oh my God, my father is turned into the thing," but instead, what it is he looks at this and he goes, "Interesting."
Oh, so he's like into this stuff pretty much.
He is intrigued, is his first instinct looking at this. He's like, "This is bizarre, and I'm curious." And so eventually he is brought forth to talk with his brother Thutep, and for the, him becoming the king, the inauguration, blah, blah, blah. And Thutep actually has a wife at this point, a woman by the name of Nepharem. And as you may recall from last episode, I told you that the women who are the wives of the king of Khemri are like the living embodiment of the connection to the gods, right?
Yeah. They're like goddesses. I remember.
Yeah. These like demigod, goddess kind of characters. But, and they're also just like smoking hot. And that's the first thing that Nagash sees. And so he's kind of looking at it going like, he doesn't deserve her, is his first thought.
Okay.
This dude's a real like, ugh, like just makes my skin crawl. And eventually they're looking at, so he goes to talk to his brother, and his brother is basically going, "Oh yes, Nagash, so glad you could make it, so glad we could get our father set up and prep, blah blah blah." And at some point, I forget if it's Nagash or Nagash's crony, because he's got this underling around him that's just kind of this sniveling underling that's with him, right? Because again, he's leading the cult.
But is that guy like important, or is he just?
Not really.
Like
he's just another like nameless Joe Schmo, because again, he's leading the cults, right? This is just like Nagash's right-hand crony. He doesn't do a whole lot, to be honest.
Yeah, he's just one of his henchmen, unnamed henchman number 5.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing, is that he's like, "Oh, I'm so glad that we could get everything prepped, and I want to offer you a gift." And he goes, "Oh, okay, like brother Thutep, like what do you have to offer?" And he gives him a handful. So it's important to note that Khemri and Nehekara, like they're big into the slave trade. Again, ancient Egypt, right? Like this was just the way it was.
So like they are like slavers.
They are slavers, yes. They're slavers as well as like civilized folk, kind of like the Romans, right? Like.
Romans, ancient Egypt, kind of, okay. It's ancient Egypt. It's ancient Egypt.
Yeah, exactly, right. So he gives them some weird, gangly looking slaves with like pale white skin.
Okay. Where did these guys come from?
They actually happen to come from a little known land. You may have heard of it. Uh-huh. It's called Nagash.
No, I have not heard of Nagash.
Oh, that was where the Druki came from, brother.
Oh, oops.
But so he has offered him some Druki slaves.
Interesting.
And
that sounds like a terrible idea.
Well, to be fair, no one knows that Nagash is quite the turd that he is at this point. They just go like, "Yeah, have these. These guys will help you for whatever you need. I think they'll be quite useful." And Nagash goes, "Oh, indeed they will." And Nagash's first move is to take these Druki and bring them into the pyramids where his father is buried, because it's basically these sacred grounds that no one will be entering into, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that these pyramids are just lined with booby traps, because obviously no one's supposed to get in. But if you know how to get in, you can lead anyone anywhere. But the Druki don't know where the booby traps are, so they also can't get out. So he's literally imprisoned them in the pyramid.
Okay.
And he basically goes, "You guys were responsible for what happened to my dad, aren't you?" And they're like, "Maybe." He's like, "I want you to teach me the ways of this weird dark magic that you're using."
Oh, interesting.
And so they go about trying to teach Nagash, and Nagash goes back to talk with his brother and his brother's wife, and his brother's wife has like an audience with him where she's like, "I really want you to help bring forth a new era with us. I want to bring forth an era of peace for all of Nehekara, similar to the time of the great Lord Setra the Mighty," right? The times of the ancients. Yeah, our boy
Setra.
Our boy Setra. Setra's a Chad, by the way. Like I gave a loose guideline. We might have to do another episode on Setra at some point with everything.
He gets his own episode.
He might have to.
I've been meaning to ask, how much time from Cetra's passing to like what you're talking about now with Nagash has it been?
Oh shoot. At least a couple hundred years, maybe 1,000.
Oh, so it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Cetra's still like a person of ancient myth at this point, but he's still Chad.
But his cult's still walking around.
Yeah, exactly. Well, again, until he comes back, right? So, I
guess that's why he's like so revered, because like this cult has like so much power and influence, right? They've been around since his time, so like thousands of years of this like elite club.
Yeah, because they're supposed to be like, how do I describe it, right? Like, yeah, like I mean, you said like elite club, right? But these are sort of like the mages of this world. Mages loosely, they are the priests of the, of the religion.
Yeah, the magic boys.
Yeah, they do have like a relation to the gods, right? These are your what's the D&D class, right? The paladins, right? Sort of deal, or like your clerics.
Clerics would probably be better.
Yeah, these are your clerics. Your undead, well, not undead clerics, but they're studying the ways of undead clerics.
No, yet.
But so Nagash goes and talks to Nephilim, his brother's wife, and is like, "Oh, I want you to bring forth a new age of peace with us." And he goes, "Peace? What a stupid idea! It's like, oh, my brother's a weak man who lacks the will to take action and take what should rightfully be his. I'm not like my brother." And his wife's just kind of like, "Okay, damn, I didn't need this." And he basically just walks out.
Brother beef. Brother beef over there.
Well, yeah, he has just this thing of just being like, "My brother's a pussy." It's like, okay, I'm his wife, right? So anyways, Nagash leaves and goes back to talk to the Druki and has them training him in using the ancient dark magics. But the thing is that the Druki kind of point out, being like, we're dark elves, bro. Like, we have natural attunement to magic. You mortals, either you have it or you don't. And brother, I don't think you got it.
Oh.
Nagash is having a really hard time. He's learning all the ways that he can, but it's not helping. He's not be able to learn anything.
Is that kind of how like magic works in Warhammer Fantasy? Like, you have to be attuned to it? Or?
Yes. But there's another way to work around it.
I see.
So what Nagash does, because he kind of lacks, it's bizarre, because he kind of lacks the ability to naturally conjure up magic. So what he does instead is he has his crony go and kidnap random like beggars from the streets and drunkards and brings them into the pyramid.
Oh, no.
And the Druki are like, all right, here's what we gotta do. And they kind of do this creepy circle thing around, like these like weird anagrams kind of deal in the sand.
I already don't like where this is going.
Yeah, and then Nagash basically is like, all right, what's the next step? And it's the Druki are like, oh, just torture him to death and then take his life essence from the torture. And Nagash is like, is the torture necessary? It's like, not necessary, but it doesn't hurt to try.
It's so messed up, bro.
Yeah. And Nagash has no issue with it. And he's just like, oh, okay. And it's actually working for him. He's actually, what he's doing now is like sucking out life force from these random dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like absorbing it into himself.
Oh, that's just weird.
It's very weird. So he's extending his own life and reinvigorating himself by basically just eating people's soul. It's like Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat, bro. Yeah. Your soul is mine.
So he's basically like consuming their souls with this like weird ritual stuff to like gain magic
through this like sadism ritual from the Druki.
Yeah. Oh man.
And this is the point where Nagash basically tells his crony, like, all right, on to the next phase. And he gathers up all of these basically bottom feeder, drunkard criminal dudes, these like burglars and stuff of like royal families. But these are still like the bottom of the barrel dudes. And they collect in a discreet location. It's also important to note the reason Nagash thinks his brother is weak is because most of it's become such a good time in Nehekara. Most royals don't even attend like the courts. Most of the nobles don't even bother attending at this point.
Wait, why?
I actually don't know. I think it genuinely is a thing that like it's either that peaceful or like they don't take his brother that seriously as a ruler.
Oh, it's probably the latter, I'm assuming.
It probably.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, probably a bit of both, to be honest. And so this is the reason that Nagash is looking at this going like, this is stupid. You're the king and you can't even get a royal court going. The only guys who are showing up here are bottom feeders. But due to this, it's like this is how Nagash gets the names of like all these bottom feeder nobles, and it's basically like, all right, go and get these guys and bring them to a discreet location. We need to talk. And he gets all of these criminals and scumbags together, and this is
like some Squid Game stuff going on right now.
Dude, the next scene I'm about to talk about is real Squid Game-esque. But what happens is he gets them all together in a discreet location, and one character who I just have to mention right off the bat. There's a character by the name of Arkan the Black. And
all right,
do you want to guess? Do you want to guess why his nickname is the Black? You'll never guess.
Tell me. Is it because he wears all black or he is black?
No, it's because he enjoys chewing tobacco. And so his teeth are now like gross and just stained pitch black.
I mean, like it's kind of a cool nickname, I guess.
Yeah, there's a great scene where he's literally just like in the court and his henchman just goes, "Oh, there's Arkan the Black." He goes, "The Black?" And he just looks up and sees his teeth. It's like, "You need not ask, my lord."
That's awesome.
So he collects. So he's amongst these grunts or these scumbags, right? And this dude also is a real piece of crap, but he lasts a while. He's like the lieutenant of Nagash later on down the line.
And he works like he's a part of the cult, I'm assuming too.
No, actually, he's just a dude. None of these dudes are part of the mortuary cult.
Oh, they're just helping out Nagash.
Yeah, they just get called to arms. And it's like, all right, like come in, I need you to meet with me in this like secret area so we can discuss stuff.
Yeah.
And
okay. I thought these were all like cult members that were his lackeys, and I realized that it was just random folk or like I guess mercenaries or some sort.
Like lesser nobles, basically, who are just like in with the sharks.
Okay.
Guys who would rather like be hedonists than take on the actual responsibilities of ruling. That's who he's gathered.
It's a great group of people.
Well, here's the reason why is because he basically says to them being like, I need cruel men because I intend to overthrow my brother. And the only way to do that is with ruthlessness. And I need to know that I am gathering proper cruel men.
Oh, like he wants... I see. So he's trying to like stage like a military coup.
He is, and he's like, I know that you're all deep, and it is Squid Game-esque of like, I know you're all deep in with the sharks. All that goes away if you will serve under me. Not only will you serve under me and under a new empire, you will have a new title.
Ooh.
If we pull this off.
I see. So he like promises them stuff. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Nagash is a really smart dude. He's also just really quick to anger is his major downfall, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, he sounds like he has like no morality whatsoever.
Oh, he's a complete psychopath. No, he just craves power.
Yeah.
And the key note here, I mean, this is the next scene is one guy basically says, you really expect us to join you? Like, why would we? We don't know you. We don't owe you anything. You're just a guy trying to pose for his brother's shadow, basically. And Nagash is like, that's an interesting perspective. Here's why you should join me. And so that dude was eating like eels one after another, right? Like dead eels. Nagash brings back the eels to life while they're within his stomach.
Oh, what?
And they eat out of his stomach because he now has like necromancy powers, right?
Oh.
And that's
awful.
And that's his way of being like, all right, anyone else have any other questions regarding why I should be king?
I mean, that's a pretty cool scene.
It was pretty like, oh, like reading about it made my stomach churn for obvious reasons.
Yeah. It's like, I don't want to awaken whatever I've eaten.
No, exactly. Hey man, that chicken.
Oh,
it's coming back. So, and all of these dudes at this point are like, yep, sounds good. Let's join with you. And so Nagash goes on to basically just keep commencing his weird rituals and experiments with the Drew key in the pyramid. And he's just getting all of these like slaves and just like random beggars off the streets, right? To just, just suck the life out of them and see what works. Just God only knows what he's really doing, but he's basically just absorbing their life at the end of the day.
Yeah, he's like a mad scientist necromancer at this point.
Pretty much, yeah. He hasn't actually committed any necromancy beyond the eels, but other than
how did he get the power or knowledge or magic to do the eels? Was it just through the Druki that he was able to do that, or?
Yes, it's through the Druki, just like giving him the crazy ritual that he has to offer.
So I see. It's through that ritual.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. But it is worth pointing out that at one point, the Druki actually come really close to getting out of the pyramid by themselves. They almost get out after being trapped in there for 50 years.
Yeah. And they don't want to help them. They want to leave.
Well, Nagash is standing by the door and he goes, oh, yeah, there's the door. You can leave if you can get past me and beat me in a magic duel.
Ooh.
And much to my own surprise, Nagash actually wins it. But to be fair, he wins because he uses some tactics that aren't just magic. It's like he uses the environment to his advantage and stuff like this, right? So it's like, oh, someone blasts he blasts a spell at them, they deflect it, and it hits a column that's right next to the Druki, and it just crushes them.
I see. So he was using the environment to his advantage instead of the Druki were just attacking straight on.
Instead of just through willpower, because honestly, I don't think he could beat all the Druki with a magic duel just through willpower at this point in time.
Yeah.
But while he's doing his crazy experiments and stuff, eventually, just out of nowhere, it's the door to the pyramid starts to open at one point, and in walks Thutep, his brother, the rightful king, with a small armada of forces and his own Usurping.
Ooh.
And he's basically like, brother, what the hell have you been doing? What have you done? This is a disgrace to the gods. It's a disgrace to our lineage. I'm going to put you down and put down this resistance once and for all. He goes, okay, sounds good, brother. Bring it on. And so Thutep sends in his guards and his Usurping, and Nagash's cronies go and fight them. But also at this point, Nagash, and just starts using all of his crazy magic to basically just turn the tide of battle completely into his favor.
So how long was he doing this under the pyramid? You said for 50 years he was doing this?
I think it was probably close to 50 years, that he was doing it. Well, I mean, I don't. Okay, actually, I said 50 years. I really don't know. I mean, it's Nehekara, so they live a bit longer, but probably at least a decade.
I see.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how strong is his magic at this point? Since he went from no magic to how strong?
I mean, he's the only dude in Nehekara with magic, and at the end of the day, he did beat the Druki, even using tactics. That's not an easy feat. So he's pretty strong.
Yeah. Okay. What type of spells can he cast at this point? Does it say what he's casting?
It seems like he's got weird dark magic, shadowy magic kind of deal, the lore of shadows kind of deal.
Yeah. Okay. So it's more like evil magic. I mean, I guess that makes sense since he was learning from the Druki.
Exactly. Yeah, this is who he's learning from, right? And it's sadist magic.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But so he quickly just makes quick work of Thutep's army and is like, well then, brother, isn't this interesting? And you haven't seen the Berserk movies, but he basically does a Griffith where he just pauses his brother in place. He literally can't move because of the magic. And he just plucks the crown off of his head and goes, well, you won't be needing this. I'll take this off your hands. And proceeds to be like, all right, guys, you know what to do with him. I think it's time for him to go and see our father. and they proceed to bury him alive within the pyramid.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, what a terrible way to go.
Yeah. So he's just stuck in there in the darkness behind this big ass stone like plaque.
Yeah, and I guess he just dies of hunger or thirst or whatever.
Yeah, and that was the last we ever saw of King Thutep. There, at which point Nagash basically goes, all right, guys, I am now the king. And at this point, this is where Nagash really turns into a real scumbag. I mean, he's been bad, but like he's dangerous because he has power of a king, right?
Yeah.
So
is he like who recognizes him as a king now?
Anyone who doesn't want to be turned to dust.
Oh, I see. Okay, so it's like so.
Oh, it's completely out of fear.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Nagash is like, other kingdoms hear about this, and they're like, no, we're not standing for this. We gotta get rid of this usurper, right? And so they send their armies, and Nagash is like, interesting. Look at all these bones scattered across the desert. I think I'll put them to better use. So he rises like the dead of just centuries, just, basically just the dead rise out of the sands of Nehekara. And this is blasphemy because, again, the dead have been honored through the mortuary cult. Like, death is, it's something you don't mess with in Nehekara. And this dude's just like, yeah, the greatest blasphemy I possibly can commit. Whatever.
But how did he learn necromancy though?
I don't remember. Like, if it really points it out in the book, like, I think he kind of had necromancy he had it from the Druki.
Yeah.
Like, eventually he learns, I don't know how his dark magic really goes on to become necromancy, to be honest. At one point, one thing he realizes is, one way that I can amplify my powers. I think this is what this was what gave him immortality. Because he actually also wanted to find immortality. He finds out it's like, the greatest way that I can do this, he basically just starts sacrificing humans and just drinking their blood. He's like, the vitality of the blood will fuel me.
Oh.
So bro's basically a vampire.
He like turns into a lich vampire, pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah. And he's perfectly okay with this. So,
yeah, but is he the first one in Warhammer Fantasy to ever raise dead, though? That's what I'm after.
Yes,
he is.
He is the original.
How did he? So then he couldn't have learned it from the Druki then.
Yeah, I don't know how he. Well, okay, again, his crazy like experiments and stuff, right? This is all Nagash does. If he's not like doing nefarious stuff, he's experimenting.
I see.
And I mean, he does have the resources of the mortuary cult to back him up for whatever he needs.
I see. But I'm still kind of confused on how like necromancy came into place. Right?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't through a chaos god. It wasn't through anyone. He just kind of brute forced his way to learning the magic.
Pretty much.
Right? Okay. It's kind of weird.
He brute forced his way. He used all of these crazy experiments. Well, and he recorded like 9 tomes worth of experimentation to figure out like the best way of executing necromancy.
I see.
And he goes on to teach this to his generals as well, which is like all the scumbags like Arkin the Black and all these other dudes, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, at this point, Nagash is basically like, all right, guys, time to go hog wild. Take the armies of Henry, lead them out into the battlefield. Just start taking over cities. And if our men do happen to die, just raise them from the dead. It's fine.
That's wild.
Yeah, so fighting this sucks. And all of Nehekara, if you're not like under Nagash through fear, you're fighting against him to get rid of him at this point. That's how much everyone's like, we gotta get rid of this dude.
Would he raise like enemy? So if he raises, let's say, like an enemy soldier that he killed, would that soldier be loyal to him? Like how does the raising works?
There's no soul within it. It's just literally the body is there. So Nagash can control the souls himself. Nagash has that ability where he literally has like specters around him and stuff. But at the same time, like when he's performing necromancy, it's just husks rising.
I see, which is fueled by the magic.
Exactly. He's basically just creating constructs.
Okay. See, that makes more sense now to me. Okay.
Yeah. There's no soul within it.
Okay. And they just like completely follow his will.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they're just zombies. They have no mind of their own. Like, it's just skeletons and then guys who have just been left to the sands and just look like ghouls from Fallout.
Oh man.
Like, that's what this army is looking like. Like, the army of the undead is just rising and just going for.
Aren't like the people like that are working for him at this point, like the black, like that black guy, for example. Aren't they like scared of him? Like at this point?
No, because he said to them, "I need cruel men. I need you to have the stomach for this."
I see. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. You either get with it or get out.
Okay, so he raised a giant skeleton army to go fight off everyone, pretty much?
Pretty much. And he just goes on, like, the first book is all about, like, the armies trying to fight Nagash, and then it cuts to Nagash rising to power, right? So a lot of the book is just battles happening and just the horrors that go on with that, and a lot of betrayal and stuff like that.
Ooh, what's a battle? What's a battle like? Like, describe a battle to me.
Oh, I mean, it literally is like one thing too is that like the zombies, pretty sure they can only rise during the night. Mm-hmm. So Nagash would be fighting all of these dudes under the darkness, and if he didn't fight them in darkness, like he would have basically scarabs that would be so thick they'd blot out the sun, so the undead can rise.
So if the undead's in sunlight, do they like just die or something? Like, how does that work?
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like if they're in sunlight, they literally just.
Does he improve on this later on? Like, I don't see how.
Well, later on, sure, but not for a while.
Oh, but he does improve on it later on.
I mean, the guy's already wrote 9 tomes.
Okay. Like early on, pretty much these zombies, like their biggest weakness is sunlight.
Yeah, these are pro. I mean, again, there's zombies that are basically, if our guys die, just raise them back from the dead. And the zombies aren't like good warriors, right? It is literally this thing of like you just knock its head off and it's donezo.
Oh, okay. So they're pretty bad.
They're pretty bad. But again, it's like, if our guys die, just raise them back from the dead and it's fine. And then at least if they kill another guy, we can raise that guy back from the dead.
That's crazy.
That's what makes this such a rough time for the rest of Nehekara. Because they don't have this ability. They got nothing to fight against this. And also because they're fighting the biggest scumbags that ever were.
Yeah, like really cruel, torturous people. So it's probably like a bunch of fear.
Well, that's the other thing is that it's like, if we take the city, it's not just, we take the city and then they're subservient to us. It's like, just murder all the women and children and just turn them into undead slaves. It's fine.
Really?
No. That was their first go-to, basically. It's like, if they're not going to be subservient, then just kill the whole place. That's fine. They'll learn to listen.
That's crazy. That's actually wild.
It's pretty disgusting.
And he's fine having just undead people roam around?
Well, I mean, this guy has like no humanity in the first place. All he cares about is power.
Okay.
I know. Yeah. Well, okay, the other thing too, Nagash pays the price for being a necromancer because he himself basically becomes this like this vampire thing where he constantly needs the elixir. He's got this constant thirst and he hates the sunlight.
Okay.
So that's the price of that is kind of the price of necromancy from the start. But
the price of it is you can't go into the sun.
The price of it is vampirism, basically.
I see.
Yeah.
So he basically turns himself into a vampire.
Yeah, a vampire necromancer.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Although I think down the line this will change. Oh no, down the line this does change for him. Actually, he finds an alternative. But again, it's Nagash. Like he literally is just experimenting all day long.
Yeah. So like at the start though, like he looks like a normal dude, but he's just a vampire, right?
Pretty much. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And since he's in the castle now in Khemri, his first thing, like, if he's not, actually, he's not even leading the armies half the time. He's leaving Arkin and the other dudes to be like, you go deal with this. I give you this amount of time to go and take this city. It's like, but we can't make it without like marching the whole way. He's like, all right, well, if they die, just raise them back and then like have them keep marching. It's fine.
Do his like lieutenants know necromancy at this point? Like he teaches it to them?
Yes, he teaches that to them, and they also get the elixir of immortality.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he only gives that to his closest inner circle.
I see. So like the black guy and others.
Yeah, Arkin.
Arkin. I should stop calling the black guy.
Yeah, I can't. Every time I'm like, what are you talking about?
The gross teeth.
Gross teeth guy. Yes, there we go. Yeah.
It's hard to remember all these names, right?
No, I know. I'm giving you a lot. I only bring up Arkin because he will be consistent throughout this story.
It sounds like he's very important.
He is.
And not just for the chewing tobacco.
No. That's just for fun. That's just for the hell of it.
Does he still chew tobacco when he becomes an undead necromancer?
It doesn't specify, but I'd be very disappointed if he doesn't.
Okay.
Bro has a nickname for chewing tobacco, so he better like keep that reputation. Anyways. Yeah. So Nagash, while he's not leading the armies, is basically just in the palace, just doing crazy stuff. And this whole time, he's basically doing like some Disney evil bad guy stuff with his brother's wife, being like, you're going to marry me and acknowledge me as the king and you'll be my queen. And she's like, ew, no, you're gross and psychopathic. Get away from me.
Yeah, you just killed my husband.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and he's also imprisoned her son and basically just kept the son on the opposite side of the sanctum, imprisoned.
How does he the riz on this man?
It's amazing he stayed single this long.
Yeah, who would have thought?
So basically, there's a scene where the queen and the prince are reunited for a brief second, so that she can basically realize, oh, he's not actually dead. And then Nagash has the plan of, this is bizarre, but I don't know how he came to this conclusion. He goes to the prince's quarters with his men and is like, he does what he's been doing. He slits the young guy's, his nephew's throat, and gathers the blood in a cup, and then he hurries off to the queen's bedchambers and is like, I just needed to let you know, if you will acknowledge yourself as my bride, I will not harm a hair on your son's head. Just drink of this elixir of life that I have here, and then you will live forever and you can be, your son will be unharmed. And so she drinks her son's blood, making her immortal.
That's so messed up.
I feel I didn't give adequate enough warning. I should have given a content warning with this.
Yeah, that's dark. That's messed up.
Even by Warhammer standards, I'm like, holy shit.
Okay.
And at this point, she's basically a slave to Nagash at this point, as like just an undead empress or an immortal empress. And at one point, there's a scene where she attempts to pull a coup and have him killed. And he basically, he fights the guys off and he lives, and he basically goes to her and is like, oh, you tried to do me in. Well, it's like, for too long I have longed to, have you as mine, and now I properly will. And he basically consumes her soul and leaves her as like this withered husk. But she still exists as this just undead zombie that Nagash controls. And her soul is just fused to him now, constantly tormented by his will.
Dude, that's so messed up.
This dude is on a track record. I don't know if there's... Yeah. Anyways.
So like when you drink that elixir that he makes, do you like, does your mind go under his control? Like how does that work?
No, it's just a thing of the elixir. Again, it turns you with the vampirism, and you're constantly thirsting for this elixir. You need it constantly. You're addicted to it.
I see. And that's the only way to stay immortal.
I don't actually know. I think so.
Like a vampire, they gotta drink blood.
Like the worst parchment the worst like parched feeling that you can think of.
I see.
The way it describes it is like if they don't get this stuff consistently, they are like just starving. But they can't die.
What happened? So can you kill someone that drinks this elixir? Is that possible?
If it is, I haven't read it, to be honest.
Okay. Maybe next episode we'll find out.
Yeah. Oh, actually, sorry. Yes, you can kill these guys. Yes, but it has to be by like beheading.
I see. All right.
So these guys can be killed by mortal means. But so they can also be like brought back to life, I'm pretty sure, if they also get more blood.
So what happens if you drink this elixir? Does your body change or anything? Like
no, it doesn't sound like this elixir actually causes any physical changes, to be honest.
All right.
Yeah, it seems like beyond the constant thirst for blood and that just being on your mind, because again, it's like an addiction for them where it's like if they don't get this, they're just starving but unable to die. And they can't handle sunlight.
Yeah, okay.
Otherwise, they feel like they're in an oven, which sucks because they're in Nehekara in the desert. So when when it's daylight, these dudes are just in the pyramids in coffins.
Oh, really? So they just sleep all day?
They just sleep all day in sarcophaguses.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah. So Nagash at this point is just leading a horrible army, and he is committing all manner of war crimes. He's poisoned like sacred watering wells and all this stuff, and doing all sorts of blasphemy to the gods. And basically it leads up to this big battle at this place called Marek, I believe. And Marek is the most it's the Jerusalem of Nehekara, it sounds like, is the best way I can describe it. This is the holy lands of Nehekara.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the holy lands of Nehekara. Nagash is basically leading his forces, going, all right, guys, get down there, start the warg. And they go down there, but there's so much barricading this place. There's so many Usurping. There's those big sphinxes I spoke about earlier, those tomb scorpions and stuff. There's just a lot guarding this place, right? And there's these sacred barriers that are like keeping it safe. But these like sacred runes that are basically put into the city. But eventually Nagash looks at his brother's wife, or the zombie of his brother's wife, and goes, oh, right, I forgot. I have an idea. Because remind you, she is the living embodiment of the connection to the gods. So he goes, get down there, my queen. Go on. And she goes down there, and I think just because she's like undead, the runes start to activate. And she just gives out this horrible ear-splitting screech and just erupts into flames and is just turned into ash.
She is.
But at this point, because she was the living embodiment of the connection to the gods abandoned the people of Nehekara. All of their blessings, everything that made it like a blessed land, and all of the fertility that was occurring, the Usurping, all of this goes out the window. It dissipates immediately. The sphinxes cease to exist as living constructs.
Wow. That's crazy. So they're like, look what you did to our deity woman.
Well, yeah, it's like you've destroyed a sacred demigoddess, and you have literally caused the gods to abandon us, you psychopath. Crazy. And he goes, oh, okay, cool. Now we can actually start the war. And it looks like Marek is about to fall. But at this point, most of Nagash's guys who are not zombies, those who have been basically ruled by fear and not through respect, look at this and go, okay, like this has been enough. This is enough. And they all turncoat on him. So it's now the living of Nehekara versus the undead of Nehekara, basically.
Oh, man.
And it's a fierce battle that it looks like Nagash is going to win until they come up with these. It sounds like what they basically have is like napalm guns that they have purchased from the distant lands of Cathay, which is basically China.
All right.
They have like firework napalm guns, and these turn the tide of battle pretty quickly. And Nagash is looking at it going like, oh crap, and very quickly just gets turned into cinders by these napalm firework guns.
Nagash gets turned into cinders?
Yeah, that's the last we heard of Nagash.
Wait, what? I was not expecting that.
Well, here's the thing. I will say this is that that's the last we hear of Nagash, and they go into the pyramid where Nagash's immortals were. And they basically just start taking them out. Like they're like, oh, this damn booby trap place. And they take all of these vampires out. They just kill them quickly. And it's like, all right, the reign of the usurper is over. It's done. But they never did find the body of Arkan the Black.
Oh.
He was never discovered. They never did manage to get a hold of him. And at this point, though, it is worth pointing out that Arkan was on a rickety bridge with Nagash because he failed Nagash at one point, and Nagash had him eaten alive by scarabs just so he could be brought back to life over and over again to be eaten again.
That's so messed up.
Yeah. So they were on a rickety bridge at that point. They were on pretty bumpy terms with each other. And that is basically where I will lead off with this. This is where like the first book ends, because this is basically that's the reign of Nagash and the atrocities of Nagash summarized very quickly. This dude is a monster.
Yeah, he sounds awful.
I'm amazed he has not appeared on like you know those like top 10 villain like things on YouTube. He needs to be on more of those. Because, oh my God.
Top 10 worst Warhammer characters. He's not even in there.
No.
Really?
Well, I think on top 10 Warhammer, I'm sure he's in the top 10 Warhammer characters. But I'm just saying, like, I think this guy might make Griffith blush.
Yeah, fair enough.
To be honest, like, this sounds, this is a lot.
Yeah, I'm still shocked about the mother drinking her son's blood.
Yeah, this has been a pretty like dark episode. Like usually we have more of a chuckle, I feel, with these episodes.
Yeah,
but usually
I'm cracking more jokes. I couldn't crack anything with this one.
No, I have nothing. I had am I supposed to crack a joke? Because it feels, even for fictional characters, it feels in poor taste. Because oh my God. Nagash is a shithead. We'll just leave it at that. We all know this. And I'm glad that he got burnt to his cinders. He deserved far worse.
So that's how they can die. So you can burn them or behead them.
I mean, again, he basically got hit by napalm guns.
Yeah.
That'll do you in. Even with Nagash's elixir, that'll do you in. All right. Well, I mean, Cabs, do you have any other questions? Because otherwise, I'm gonna take us home for this first episode.
I guess my only question would be like, I'm kind of curious about the drawbacks on the world of Nagash, like since he kind of discovered necromancy. Like, does that like piss off the gods, or like, you know, like what happens?
Oh, they remain unspeaking to the people of Nehekara. All the blessings remain gone. They like never forever. Come back.
I see.
Which is like a big, like, remember, like I said, like the Usurping, like those dudes who are like the big bodyguards, like their gifts are gone. They stop existing. I think they just like, I don't remember what happens to them. I think they literally just like kind of get like paralyzed from the sounds of it.
Oh man,
like, turned to stone basically. It's not, yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the first episode. It's just tragedy. We'll follow up with, you know, this is another one of those, like this will be like a 3-parter. Don't worry.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more characters to cover. Like I said, that character Arkan, you know, he's still out there somewhere. He'll come back. But this is really like where I'll leave it for now. And the actions of Nagash, like I said, you asked like the effects it has on the world. It affects Nehekara immediately.
Yeah.
It affects the rest of the world very gradually, but tremendously.
Like, I'm kind of curious, like, if anyone else like dabbles in necromancy because of this, like later on.
Cabs, you're getting ahead of yourself here. We're getting zesty now.
I know. I'm kind of curious what happens to the rest of the world in Warhammer Fantasy.
Oh, you're curious for that necromancy, much like Nagash.
Hey, I don't want to be compared to this guy.
Don't kill my wife.
Hey, I'm coming over. I'm going to sacrifice you, all right?
You're going to find me buried under my bed.
Yep. If you're ever wondering why next episode takes long, I'm just going to replace you with an AI voice.
Yeah, it's because Cavs went and sacrificed me used my husk for all of the next episodes. If anyone's wondering.
Oh.
All right. So I take us home.
I think you shall.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of the Imperial Scholars podcast. The first part of this sort of trilogy we'll be covering. This has been a lot for me. Like, I've read this and it's hard to verbalize and not have my stomach churn on me. Hopefully the next one won't be as bad. It will be interesting, but I hope it will at least have a few happier notes, or at least, I don't know, just something more going for it. Like, somehow the Sundering was less depressing than this. But anyways,
this is just a fall of the great empire because of one guy's craziness,
douchebaggery.
Yeah.
All right. Well, please do consider leaving a like. Feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to let me know if there's anything I missed. Please do just leave a comment, just because I love reading them. And we will see you all in the next episode. Until then, take care, all.
All right. Bye.